Today, we've got a crazy cool topic. We are talking about mindset. And before we jump into the science and the cool tactics that you're going to be able to apply to your life to change your mindset, I want to just remind you that this episode is part of a month-long series that we are doing here on the Mel Robbins podcast about the building blocks and the research that you need to know in order to create a better life. Here's the simple truth about your mindset. Your mind is either working for you or against you. That's what it's doing. And so by the end of today's episode, there's going to be a couple things that go down. First of all, you are going to understand that you have the power to reprogram your mind. That's right. You can take simple steps and you can practice them every day to train your mind to work for you. And I'm also going to prove to you today, using very simple science, that your mind is trying to help you. It doesn't know any better if it's working against you. And when you can identify the way that you want to feel or what you want to do with your life, you can change your mindset to help you. And when you do that, here's what's super cool. It improves the day-to-day experience of your life, and it changes what it's like to be in your head. So whether you're listening to this episode because you struggle right now with overthinking or feeling unworthy, or maybe you have a really positive outlook, but you just want to level up. You want to play a bigger game. That's where I am right now. I am so ready to take a bigger swing to knock it out of the park this year. And the mindset and creating a more powerful mindset, that is a tool in your arsenal to help you achieve anything that you want. So today, you and I are going to get serious about making your mind work for you. And I want to start us off with a question from a listener named Brandy.
Hi there, Mel. My name is Brandy. How do I stop the spiral of negative thoughts and feelings? I really want to reset and start embracing a happier life. I just don't know where to start. I hope you can help.
Brandy, I am so happy that you asked this question because we have received thousands of versions of this question. And I'm also kind of thrilled. I picked your question in particular because you use the word reset. And today I am going to teach you how to give yourself a mindset reset. And I'm going to explain what a mindset reset is, the simple steps to doing it. It's all going to make sense in a couple minutes. But I want to give you a preview so that as we step into the process of giving yourself a reset mentally, that you have a baseline understanding. So here's a preview of what we're going to talk about, okay? You have a filter in your brain, and I'm going to teach you, using science and neuroscience, how to use this filter that's already in your brain to your advantage. And everything that I'm going to teach you, you can put to practice immediately. And what I love so much about this conversation that we're about to have is that you may even experience an immediate change the first time you try this little thing I'm going to teach you. This is so cool because the moment you experience this small change in your mindset, it will create momentum. It creates excitement. It creates possibility. There's this opening of a whole new way of thinking. But before we can get there, I want to just start with the basics so that you feel really empowered around the topic of mindset and around reprogramming this filter in your brain. So let's just start with a definition so we're all using the same terminology. And let's define, you and I, what is a mindset? Well, your mindset is your beliefs and your opinions about the way that the world works. That's the definition when you look it up. However, you know that I prefer metaphors. Mel Robbins is dyslexic, so she likes to be able to visualize something, especially when we're talking about this intellectual stuff, okay? So the metaphor that I love when it comes to mindset and the sciencey, psychological, neurological aspect of mindset and brain programming is I use the metaphor sunglasses. I think about your mindset like a pair of sunglasses. So stop and think right now about your favorite pair of sunglasses. I have these sunglasses that I have had for almost 15 years. I bought them because we were going on this rafting trip and I had forgot to pack my sunglasses. And so I bought the only cool pair of sunglasses that they had on that turnstile thing on the counter. They were like $15. And they were these huge black bug-eyed glasses. I feel like Jackie O when I wear them. So think about your favorite pair of sunglasses for just a minute. Now, I want you to think about the lens color and think about how when you put on that pair of sunglasses, that lens on your favorite sunglasses, it colors and filters what you see and it gives it a tint, right? I mean, if you put on rose-colored sunglasses, the world has a rosy, bright tint to it. If you put on amber sunglasses, same thing. Gray, same thing. My big black bug-eyed glasses that I just love. I feel so glamorous in these $15 plastic things. Everything looks crazy dark. Just really blocks everything out. Your mindset works the same way as a pair of sunglasses. Let's go back to the written definition of your mindset. Your mindset is made up of your beliefs and your opinions. And just like the lens on a pair of sunglasses, those beliefs and opinions that you have, they create a mindset through which you filter the world. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. Let's say you're a pessimistic person. If that's your mindset, if that's your outlook, you will filter the world through pessimism, just like a dark pair of sunglasses skews the outside world with this blackened, darker shade. And if you're not pessimistic, let's just think about the most pessimistic person you know. Someone who is always negative. They could be sitting on the beach in the Bahamas with a beautiful, fabulous tropical drink in their hand. Sun is shining, crystal clear ocean, and they're annoyed because lunch hasn't come out yet. You know that kind of person. You've sat next to them at a wedding where the band is awesome, the couple is so cute and happy, families together. And what is this person doing? They're bitching about something, some relative that's sitting all the way on the other side of the room. All they notice is the one thing that's wrong or irritating them. They don't even notice all of the amazing things that are going on around them. Isn't it interesting when I describe this negative, pessimistic person? You know exactly who I'm talking about. And you're probably thinking, dear God, do not sit them next to me at the next family wedding. I do not want to hear this, okay? I do not like that kind of mindset or that mood. I do not want dark-colored glasses skewing the way that I enjoy this situation right now. And here's the craziest thing about mindset. You know that pessimistic person you and I were just thinking about? They have no idea that they have dark glasses on. This is just the way they see the world. I'm going to give you another example of mindset and how important this is. I want you to think about someone you work with, or maybe you go to school with this person, who has a can-do attitude. No matter how tight the deadline or how rude the customer is that you guys are waiting on, or how much other team members are slacking off, this one person with a can-do attitude, they always see the bright side. Or they have this unbelievable ability to just shrug off the rudeness of other people or the laziness of the students that are on your group project. And they literally can just flip it and turn to you and go, well, they probably have something going on in their personal life. It's as if they always see any situation or any relationship from the positive. They see possibility. They give people the benefit of the doubt. They assume good intent. This, too, is a mindset. It's just like putting on a rosy pair of sunglasses. Everything is sharper, clearer, brighter when you have this kind of mindset. Even a cloudy, crappy day looks like a beautiful sunrise. In fact, there's a really cool study from the University of Toronto about rose-colored glasses. This isn't just a saying. When you wear rose-colored glasses, your attitude is better. And there's even more based on this research. When you wear rose-colored glasses, you even see more. Your visual horizon is expanded because these rose-colored glasses put you in a good mood. Your mindset determines the way you view the world, and that determines how you think. So I want to do a gut check right now with you. If you had to tell the truth, or actually, let's make this really accurate. If your best friend had to describe the color of the sunglasses that you wear, would they say that you're more on the lane of the dark, bug-eyed plastic glasses that just skewed everything like it was midnight? Or are you more on the range of everything's rosy? You're always positive. You are always upbeat. You see beauty where most people see nothing. Do a quick gut check with yourself because Your mindset is critical. It shapes the way you view the world, and that determines how and what you think about. It also determines how you feel about the present moment, about your past, and about the future. And most importantly, this is where it gets really important. Your mindset determines what actions you take and what actions you don't take. And it also impacts how you see other people. So, for example, if I asked you, so what's your mom like? Before you even answer the question, you subconsciously drop on sunglasses and it filters your opinion about her. And by having a filter about another person, it also limits what's possible for her. You think she just is that way, which means there's no room for her to change. So why is mindset and getting intentional about changing your mindset? Why is this so important? Why do you need to know what color the lens is that you view the world through? And more importantly, why it's time to pop those lenses out if they don't serve you and put in different lenses so that you can see things differently. I'll tell you why your mindset is so important. Because so much of your potential is either limited or expanded by your mindset. I prove to you almost every single episode on the Mel Robbins podcast that with the right attitude and consistent action, you can absolutely change anything about your life or your health or your relationships for the better. And if you're walking around right now with a really negative mindset, you've got those dark, bug-eyed glasses on, and you're sitting there every single day telling yourself day in and day out that there is nothing that you can do about this situation, this job, this relationship, this health condition, that you've tried, that you've failed, that you don't deserve it, that you don't know how. I want you to consider that your own mindset is keeping you stuck in that broken situation because your mindset is not inspiring you to do anything about it. Being able to spot those dark lenses, pop them out, put in something brighter, rosier, more luminous, it's going to change everything. And here's why. When you feel more hopeful or when you see options and you start to tell yourself, well, why not? Why don't I just try it? What if it works out? Why don't I just see what happens? I do deserve to be happier. I don't deserve to be treated like this. I should start speaking up. That rosier mindset, it inspires you to take the actions that change your life. And it's the actions that matter. This is why I love this topic about mindset and what you're about to learn about the filter in your brain so much. Because right now, there are areas in your life where your own mindset is blocking you from taking action. And before we jump into the filter in your brain and changing your mindset, I want to be very clear about something. This conversation today, it's not about positive thinking. You and I are talking about training your mind to work for you. That's very different. This is not toxic positivity. I'm not asking you to put a positive spin on a shitty situation. I'm also very clear that thinking nice thoughts, it's not going to get your bills paid. However, if you can get serious and intentional and strategic about training your mind to have a rosier and more optimistic and empowered attitude, you, my friend, will be able to say to yourself, I can do this. You will be able to say, you know what? I know my student debt is piled from the floor to the ceiling, and I have not opened those bills in approximately 10 months, but I believe in my ability to figure out how to pay this off. If you can, that is an example of how you go from I'm fucked to I can figure this out. When you take off the dark glasses, you know what you'll see? You'll see you're not stuck in the job. You're not stuck in the relationship. You're not stuck with the unhealthy habits that you have. If you're the kind of person that constantly shrugs your shoulders and is like, well, it is what it is. I got this college debt. It is what it is. I always date these losers. It is what it is. My grandfather was heavy. My mother was heavy. I guess I'll just be heavy and feel really bad about it. No. You can look at something differently. And when you look at it differently, you see different options. And I also want to say one more thing before we jump into the filter in your brain and its connection to your mindset. There are things in life that you are not going to change or at least you're not going to change them overnight. For example, you and I cannot change that there is discrimination in this world. There is bias, and there is violence that a lot of people experience. We cannot change the fact that poverty and mental health issues impact people for real. But here's what you can do. You can train yourself to look at the future and decide how you're going to react to and respond to the things that you're facing in your life. You can decide how you're going to heal and what you're going to do about those things for yourself and your community. And one final thing. We have a huge global audience here on the Mel Robbins podcast. And I want you to know, if you're listening in another country, that I am reading all of the questions that you're submitting through the DMs and through the forums at melrobbins.com. And I see so many of you writing about your desire to create a better life and the fact that it's hard because you're living in Iran or your country is under siege like Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you something. A positive mindset is not going to change the reality of what is going on around you. Here's what it does, and this is why it's important. It empowers you to face it, to deal with it, and to survive it. That's what a mindset does. And that's why it's important to get serious about training your mind to work for you. And this connection between mindset and action, this is so important that I want to give you one more example about how your mindset either inspires action or it discourages it. So let's just say that you are in a job and you hate it. You feel stuck. You feel like you're kind of dead inside. You're not excited about anything. It's day in, day out, the same thing. Or if you're not working right now, and let's say you've taken time off to raise your kids, and you're sitting there going, I want to get back in the workforce, but I don't have any skills, and I've got a 20-year hold in my resume. If your mindset is like those dark, bug-eyed sunglasses that just muddy everything that you see, this is what you're telling yourself. Nobody's going to hire me. I don't have any experience. I don't even know how to write a resume. How the hell am I going to get into interior design when I went to college for accounting and I work in a big accounting firm and I don't even know how to begin doing this? I can't make this happen. If that is the way that you look at the future, if that's your mindset, if you color what's possible through that dark lens, if you keep telling yourself those things, you will see a world where you can't change. So are you going to feel inspired to work on your resume? Of course not. Are you going to feel empowered to start Googling and researching and figuring out how to go from an accounting job into interior design? No, because your mindset has stopped you before you even started. And that's why it's critical for you to realize this is not just a conversation about your thoughts. At the end of the day, if you don't have a positive mindset, you and I can talk about actions and habits all day long till we're blue in the face, but you won't do shit about it. I got to get you to have the kind of mindset that also says, hey, it's worth it. Hey, I can do something about this. Because if I can get you to be more optimistic, if I can get you to take the dark lens off and put on a lighter one, if I can get you to start believing it is worth it for you to apply. It is worth it for you to put your dating app back up. Yeah, it is worth it for you to pick up the pen and start working on that book you've always wanted to write. Hell yes, it's worth it for you to take 10 minutes today and lay down on the floor and do those stretching exercises that the doctor told you should do because you threw your back out instead of sitting on the couch and bitching about it. Of course it's worth it. If I can get you to start to flip from, easy for you to say, Mel, works out for you, doesn't work out for me, it's not going to help. I've had anxiety for years. If I can get you into, hey, maybe it will work. Hey, maybe I'm ready. Maybe I should try this. Maybe I do deserve this. That singular switch in your mindset motivates you, encourages you to take action. And that's critical because without action, your problems are not going away. Without action, those dreams are not coming true. Without action, you are not healing the crap that's giving you pain. When you change your mindset, it doesn't make those challenges disappear. It changes your ability to face them. And so I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to teach Brandy. Remember that question? She wants, how do I reset this, Mel? How do I stop doubting myself? Well, I'm going to teach you how to do a mindset reset, because the fact is, you can change your mindset. You are not stuck with the thoughts that you think. You are not stuck with the way that you feel. You can make your mind a place that supports you. Yes, you can start to see possibility where you never saw any possibility or hope before. You're going to teach us the 5 resets and how to manage stress and how to make it our friend. Let's talk about the first reset. What is it?
The first reset is get clear on what matters most. When you are living in a chronic state of stress, you are being led and driven by the amygdala. It is fight or flight mode, self-preservation, and it is all about survival. When you are living in that immediate sense of stress, it is hard to get out of your own way and think about the future, which is why when you are feeling stressed, don't berate yourself when someone says, how come you don't have a plan? Because often when you're thinking about what is a plan is forward thinking motion. It is strategic thinking. It is being organized. It is having some sort of structure. All of these qualities and all of these roles are your prefrontal cortex.
And because you're stressed, the amygdala and the fight, flight, or freeze is what is running the show.
That's
right.
It
makes so much sense because you're right. When you are in a state of stress, you spin in circles. You feel totally overwhelmed. You completely overthink everything. For me, I get very scatterbrained. I also, I literally feel kind of hopeless too when I'm stressed out, like the sense that there's nothing I can do about this but try to get through this thing. And when you said earlier that the tendency when you're chronically stressed or burnt out is to keep working.
That's right.
And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And so why, though, do you need to figure out like what actually matters to you when you're running around in circles, when you feel like you can't escape the problems that you have? Why is this important as the first reset?
The reason it's important is because it helps create a roadmap for the future.
Okay.
When you are in that present moment of stress and burnout and overwhelm, you are at a point where you cannot even see the next step, let alone the destination. The distance between where you are and where you'd like to be seems so vast, like a chasm, so you don't even take that first step. Why bother? It's not going to help.
Correct.
I'm not going to feel better. Forget it. It's the all or nothing fallacy. And this first reset, get clear on what matters most, helps you create that destination, a roadmap, a North Star, call it what you want.
Could you do me a favor and talk to the person listening to you and walk them through how you find a reason for why you want to get less stressed? Like, how do you do this? Can you just walk us through it as if we're sitting there in front of you?
When you're feeling a sense of stress, you may say to yourself, because your inner critic has a megaphone, you may say to yourself, what is the matter with me? Instead, ask yourself, what means most to me? This is not a big existential ask about what is the meaning of life and where do I belong. This is very practical. And so when you're thinking about your destination, why are you doing this work for less stress and less burnout? It's because you want to create a goal that means most to you. And most stands for something. So M is motivating, O is objective, S is small, and T is timely. It takes 8 weeks to build a habit. Understand that part of that 8 weeks is falling off the wagon and getting back on the wagon to continue. So give yourself a solid 3 months to reach your most goal, understanding that you're going to fall off and get back on and fall off and get back on. It's all part of the process, and trust the process. And then once you have your most goal of why do you want to do this work for less stress and burnout, it's not that much work, by the way.
I'm thinking about a moment recently where I absolutely hit like a medical state of burnout. And it was several months ago. And my why, if I were thinking about why I finally hit the wall, were things like, I want to sleep through the night. I don't want to dread the work that I have coming up this week. I don't want to feel like I am constantly behind the ball. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and be thinking about work. I need a freaking break. Like it was all so much in the negative. So when you're doing this first reset, is it important that when you think about that small, timely, little goal of yours, that it be framed as something positive?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be something external. It can be something internal. But I would say that framing it as a positive and say to yourself, I want my future self to be X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank. I want my future self to have better sleep. Or you can be fed up and say, I'm sick of not being able to sleep through the night. I want to sleep through the night. Motivation comes in many different forms. It can be positive and energetic, but it can also be that you're just fed up of your own shit.
What's reset number 2? Once you have this why in mind, like I am thinking about why it matters to me to turn off the amygdala, hit the reset, get control of it. You say it's find quiet in a noisy world. What does that mean?
This is perhaps one of the most important resets. You may think that when you have stress and burnout, you need to check out and spend 6 months in Bali. At least for me, anytime I feel overwhelmed with stress, you say that you have that sense of overwhelm. When I have a lot of stress in my life, I am irritable.
Oh.
I am so short, and I am just like constantly frowning.
Yes.
Or quick to anger.
Yes.
And even knowing all of the science, it takes me a little bit. I cannot tell you how much over the past 6 months, I've had my husband say to me, I think you need to start the resets again.
Oh, well.
And then I'll say, oh yeah, oh my. Because I have doubled down on every single reset during this whole past I walk the talk, but particularly over the past few months.
Well, just to put it in context, doing a book tour for a book this important is probably like being a resident in medical school.
Absolutely.
What is popcorn brain?
Popcorn brain is a biological phenomenon coined by a man named Adam Levy. And it is when any time that you're waiting, you're in a grocery store in line waiting to buy food, you're on your phone. You are at the bank waiting to see the teller, you're on your phone. There have been more near-miss pedestrian accidents because of popcorn brain. You are just always on your screen, always engaging, all day, every day, during all waking hours. And it creates a sense of hyperstimulation in your brain, which makes it difficult to live offline. Because offline, life moves at a decidedly slow pace. The pace of life is very different offline. Think about when you've said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to check my phone for a few hours and you're just hanging out. It's very eerie. It's slow. You can see if you have popcorn brain by doing a quick test. Keep your phone in another room. And if you can, for a couple of hours, even drive for 30 minutes, sit down with a piece of paper and a pen. And every time you feel that compulsion to check your phone, just put a little mark. And you will be shocked and appalled. Even me, knowing all of the science, I had to keep my phone far away so I could write the 5 resets because it has such a pull. Popcorn brain also is triggered by the amygdala because you are having that sense of hypervigilance, like, oh, let me check my phone. Let me check my phone. That sense of wanting to check. There's another phenomenon that's very tied to popcorn brain, which is even more concerning, which is called brain drain. So it's not just when you use your phone, which is what popcorn brain is, but scientists have found that brain drain occurs, meaning your phone, like this phone, it's right next to me during this whole conversation. And so your brain, there's a phenomenon where just that sheer potential for distraction, having a phone close by can be incredibly distracting for your brain and increase your sense of stress and burnout. So the antidote to popcorn brain or brain drain is to create digital boundaries. We have in every relationship in our life with our partners, our colleagues, our friends, we have boundaries, but we have porous boundaries or often no boundaries when it comes to your relationship with your digital devices. This is not about becoming a digital monk and abstinence. We need to engage in news. It's important to be an informed citizen.
What are your favorite boundaries?
One of the most important things is to keep your phone off your nightstand and invest in a low-cost alarm clock instead. What I love is your 5-second rule. When you get up out of bed, over 50% of people check the news or check their phones and check their emails. Think about what that's doing to your brain, what that's doing to your amygdala. If you are stressed and burned out, chances are you didn't sleep very well that night, or if you had a good night's sleep, great. But then immediately it's triggering all of these chemicals in the cascade in your brain. Instead, keep your phone away from your nightstand. When you open your eyes, take in the morning light, and then do the 5-second rule and get up out of bed. Then, maybe go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, do some stretches, and then check your phone.
Okay.
So that is a key geographical boundary.
What's another boundary?
During the day at work, keep your phone out of sight so you decrease that primal urge to scroll. Keep it in a cubicle drawer. Keep it out of arm's reach, 10 feet away from you in a cubicle drawer, just so it is not in your reach. The reason is because when you have that primal urge to scroll, what you want to do is you want to override it. And you want to create more intentionality around your media consumption.
I'll share personally that our executive producer, Tracy, will not allow me to have my phone when we are in a meeting. She will reach over if I grab it and literally like a mom, guide it out of my hand, put it away. And I'll tell you, she's right. You're just distracted. So even if it's near me and I have made it a habit, there's a kind of a task table here at work where I set up when I'm, in Boston, and my phone is always right over there. I don't have it on my person. I try not to carry it around. I try to put it back over there because I know how I just grab it. Dr. Aditi, what's one hack you can do for better focus?
One thing you can do, Mel, is to put your phone in grayscale. When I really felt like my phone, who's in control, me or my phone? And there were many moments in my life where I would say, it was my phone. Now it's very much me. But I would switch my phone to grayscale. And just doing that with my screen made all the difference because all of the lights and all of the colors and the brightness and everything is just very enticing. So when it's grayscale, it makes it less enticing. It actively changes your brain. And
how does it change your brain?
Well, because it's, big tech they know exactly what they're doing. So when you have colors and patterns and beautiful images and this user interface, it makes it more enticing to continue using. Think about when something is black and white. And like if you switched your phone to grayscale today, try it today. Switch your phone to grayscale and it just becomes less enticing because it's less, the chemicals aren't going off in your brain, the neurotransmitters, and because it's just, it's kind of boring.
Well, what I love about the way you're teaching this is that I've certainly heard a ton of people talk about the connection between stress and social media and stress and your phone and the need to get off your phone and these topics. But when you explain it in terms of your amygdala turning on and that your amygdala putting you in fight, flight, or freeze, somehow knowing that makes this way more tangible. It also makes it way more important to me that I follow this advice and I pay attention to when the amygdala is running the show versus when I'm running the show. And these boundaries and this second reset is a way for you to run your life rather than letting the amygdala just kick into high gear and keep you hostage to all of this stuff.
That's right. And I think my approach comes from decades of being a medical doctor and seeing patients. So every single thing that I offer to my patients during my talks in this book, The 5 Resets, every single thing is free. That was really important to me because I have had patients from all walks of life with different resources, and that was critical to me. The second thing that I really aim to do with every single strategy I offer, of course, it's science-based, but that it is time efficient. If we all could spend an hour getting a massage and then getting an acupuncture treatment and then going for a walk and all of the wonderful things that are available to anyone who has the means to do, the time as well, then great. But for most people in everyday life, you have in overscheduled life a million competing priorities. And often you put yourself last on that list. And so stress and burnout, your own stress and burnout and your own mental health is like, oh, I'll get to it when. But if not now, then when? And so really making sure that these strategies are easy and practical and can be something that you do today. Many of these things you can start today. And It is all, when it comes to your brain and rewiring your brain and body for less stress and more resilience, or less stress and less burnout, these incremental changes, a little bit every day, can actually rewire your brain. It is not some big grand gesture that does it, like a massage once a month. Great, a nice Band-Aid. It'll help you. When you get a massage, or when I get a massage, it feels great for a day. And then the next morning I wake up and it's the same old stuff
again.
Well,
now I know why. Because the amygdala is the issue. That is 1,000% what you're teaching us.
It's always the amygdala.
It's literally the amygdala. So what would you, like, if the person listening wants to get a better night's sleep, as a Harvard educated medical doctor and professor, what would you tell the person listening to do tonight in order to get a better night's sleep?
I always lead with self-compassion. So first is, if you are not sleeping well, you are not alone. It is not your fault. When you have better days, you will have better nights. Take sleep and your difficulty with sleep as a simple sign or a symptom of something that you want to work on. You can target it head on with a lot of these strategies. Keep your phone off your nightstand, invest in a low-cost alarm clock, aim to not, first thing when you wake up, don't scroll, try to do something else. And create, and the other thing that I would say is 2 hours before bedtime, limit your screens. Again, nothing is overnight. It doesn't work like magic. But if you start these today, give yourself 8 weeks, but you will see a difference within a week. By the weekend, you should start feeling better. These things take shape quickly because your brain and your body are rewiring all the time. Your brain is a muscle. Neuroplasticity, a very fancy science word, but it means your brain is a muscle. It's not a grab bag. Like what you got for birth is what you got for life. It's not what it is. Your brain is like a muscle, just like a bicep. So, in exercise, the thing with sleep that's fascinating is that, like with exercise, if you did, 2-pound dumbbells, like 100 curls with your biceps, you'd know that it's doing something. I mean, it's not going to do as much as like a 10-pound, but you try it anyway. You're like, you know what, I'm going to try it. So think of your brain as a muscle, try things out, experiment, understand that doing a little bit, a simple change, like keeping your phone off your nightstand, could make all the difference and could be a game changer. It doesn't have to be this big, giant lifestyle overhaul. Also, your brain cannot handle big lifestyle overhauls when you are feeling a sense of stress, because even positive change, like all of these things that we're talking about, change is considered a stressor to your brain.
Well, that's why you always recommend in your book, too, that rule of two.
The rule of two.
What is the rule of two?
The rule of two is how our brain responds to change. When we are feeling a sense of stress, so think about in 2020, you may have had big, lofty goals. Mine was to build a farmhouse table from scratch, to learn Italian, and to learn to play the guitar. And now it's a wonder if you wear clean clothes and eat a few vegetables at 2024, right? Like we're here now. It's because you cannot sustain huge lifestyle overhauls during periods of stress, because even positive changes are considered a stressor to your brain. And this was a landmark study done in the 1960s by two psychiatrists, Dr. Holmes and Rahe. They studied 5,000 people and 43 of the most common life conditions. Positive, happy things like we were talking about, right? Like getting a new job, falling in love, having a child, getting married, buying a new car, and the sad things in life, death, unemployment, divorce, lots of these horrible things. And what they found in this research was that at the end, when they added up, they tallied up every single person, all of these life events, and found that the more life events that you have accrued, your greater chance of having stress and burnout and greater illness down the road, which showed it's the basis of the rule of two, to focus on two things at a time. Even positive change can be a stressor for your brain because your brain needs time to adapt and recover from this positive change. Again, the word stress, healthy stress being adaptive. It's your brain adapting to these changes. So just aim to do two things at a time. You might read the 5 resets and say, or you might listen to our conversation, and we're offering so many strategies in this conversation. You may say, I'm going to do everything all at once, the everything but the kitchen sink approach. You'll do it for 4 weeks. And then you'll say, there's no way I'm doing this.
So pick the most important thing to improve. And then just,
for your sleep?
If you were to literally just stop the doom scrolling and put your phone somewhere other than your bedroom at 7 o'clock at night, and you create that boundary, and then you don't sleep next to it, and you don't look at it first thing in the morning, if you were to simply do that, your sleep would improve almost immediately.
Your sleep would improve immediately. The entire tenor of your day would change. And you would feel so much more grounded. You would feel, whatever symptom that you're having of stress, there are many, it would have an immediate impact on your stress and your burnout. And over time, if you continue to do that day after day after day, you will be a changed person.
I'm so excited for the third reset because we're talking about the brain-body connection and how when this little amygdala starts going bananas, what is number 3?
The third reset is sync your brain to your body. It is all about the mind-body connection.
What does that mean, sync your brain to your body?
When you hear the term mind-body connection, you may think that's total woo-woo. But in fact, there is a lot of robust scientific literature to support the mind-body connection, which is a fancy term for simply saying that your brain and your body are in constant communication and inextricably linked. What's good for your brain is good for your body and vice versa. When you do better, you feel better, and it's all in the doing. You may be hearing about the mind-body connection for the first time today, but you have been experiencing the mind-body connection forever. Butterflies at falling in love, your face flushing at an embarrassing moment. You're about to give a presentation for work and your heart starts racing. This is the mind-body connection. It's like gravity. It's happening in the background all the time. The beauty of the mind-body connection is that while it is happening around us, in you, at all times, you can learn to tap into the mind-body connection, understand it, and most importantly, influence it to better serve you with your stress and your burnout. The quickest way to tap into your mind-body connection is with your breath. Your breath is the only physiological mechanism that is under voluntary control and involuntary control. So you and I could do a breathing exercise today, right now, and you would feel a sense of calm. And then we're just talking and your breath is going.
Let's do it.
Your brain can't do that. Your brain waves, your digestion can't do that. Nothing else in your body has that same under voluntary control and involuntary control. So that is the first kind of way that you can tap into it. So there are very quick, and the other thing to mention is that when you are in amygdala mode or fight or flight mode, your sympathetic nervous system, again, a fancy scientific word, we have 2 nervous systems in the body. One is the sympathetic nervous system that governs fight or flight. The other one governs something called rest and digest. It's the parasympathetic nervous system. The 2 can't be on at the same time. They're mutually exclusive. And your breath can help modulate, be the light switch between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. So when you are in sympathetic mode driven by your amygdala, your heart is beating, you have quick, shallow breathing. Think about when you're anxious, you're breathing, you're anxious. You're breathing quickly, very shallow and rapid. That is because it's a physiological mechanism. You're trying to get the oxygen in to go to your muscles so you can fight or you can flee. Parasympathetic mode, you are breathing deeply and slowly. It is rest and digest. Sympathetic mode is that quick, shallow breathing is thoracic breathing. It's chest breathing. Parasympathetic mode, rest and digest, it's belly breathing. And knowing this very scientific explanation, it's simply to say that when you modulate your breathing and influence your breathing, you can switch one system on and off, and you can tap into your mind-body connection because of what you know now about the breath.
Gotcha.
As you're thinking about managing your stress and burnout, it's also important to think about your gut-brain connection.
Can you explain to the person listening how physically the gut and the brain are connected and how they speak to each other, and how I found it fascinating when I first learned that they were part of the same tissue?
Yes.
When you are being formed as an embryo, and that during your development that they literally are one clump that then separates. And I always imagine that there's like this gooey, ooey, sticky stuff between your brain and your gut. But could you explain it as a medical doctor what the brain-gut connection is?
The brain-gut connection is that your brain and your gut are literally speaking to each other, and there is crosstalk at all times. It happens through an ecosystem of trillions of bacteria, healthy bacteria in your gut called the microbiome. I want to say that The gut is considered the second brain because there are 3 to 5 times more serotonin receptors in your gut than your brain. When you hear the word serotonin, you know the popular class of drugs, SSRIs. These are medications that we use for depression and anxiety and a whole host of other things. And these are brain chemicals. Serotonin, when you hear the word, you think, oh, brain
Right.
chemical. But in fact, there are 3 to 5 times more serotonin receptors in your gut than your brain. One of my mentors used to say, my early mentor, he would say, I wonder why people are walking around with like hearts around their neck. They should be using their brain like as a little pendant.
Yeah.
And then another mentor said, forget the brain. We should be having like our guts around our necks because that is truly the second brain.
Yeah.
It's like that's how much the science supports this idea of the gut being the second brain. And every week, Mel, there is new compelling, fascinating research about the gut-brain connection. And so this microbiome, this ecosystem of trillions and trillions of healthy bacteria in your gut govern so many things besides digestion. It is a bi-directional highway of information. Your brain is sending signals to your gut, and your gut is sending signals right back to your brain.
As a doctor at Harvard, what do you do for exercise and movement?
25 years ago, I was a stressed patient looking for answers. And that's my villain origin story of how I became a doctor with an expertise in stress, is because I was a stressed patient looking for answers. I found my way out of the stress struggle, put on my scientist hat. I had gone to see a doctor, and my doctor had said, go get a massage and just relax. Just try to relax more. So I was like, okay, I'll get a massage. I'll have dinner with friends. I'll go retail therapy, all the things that didn't work. And so when I put on my scientist hat and I started looking and doing the research is when I really found out, okay, this is how stress impacts the brain and the body. And this is how I'm going to find my way out of stress. Movement was one. And then when I came out of that, I said I wanted to be the doctor that I needed during that difficult time. So that's my origin story. I mentioned that because movement was not something I did every single day. I was working 80 hours a week, and I was running from one patient room to the other. I thought that was movement enough. And so what I did during that time, I was acutely stressed. I was so depleted and running on fumes, Mel. I was erratic in my food intake, my sleep, seeing death and dying on a daily basis. Self-care and burnout or even stress was not in my lexicon. It was not in my vocabulary. When I was training in my medical training, my motto, how I was trained, was pressure makes diamonds. Someone sat a whole group of medical students down in our first year or second year of medical training and said, I just want you guys to know what you're about to go through. Pressure makes diamonds. So I was like, hey, diamond in the making, bring it on. And then my diamond cracked. So when I discovered all of the science around why movement is important, and exercise is like the dreaded E word, no one likes to talk about it. So we can talk about movement, we can talk about exercise. That to answer your question, it has changed. When I was a stressed patient or a medical resident working 80 hours a week, and I was running on fumes and so depleted, I focused on gentle therapeutic movement. So I went to a yoga class several times a week. That was my gateway. Just to say that doctors are socialized to play small. We don't share our own personal stories because we focus on the patient. So writing the 5 resets and sharing my personal story, I have to tell you, Mel, I might start crying, but you were an inspiration for sharing that story because you share so much of your own personal stuff to help people. And I knew that the only way that people would relate to me is if I told them the truth and not, I'm just doing this for my patients. It's because, no, I was a patient. I struggled with my stress and burnout. And that's when I became the doctor I needed during that difficult time. And so your story and your example was like a leading, sort of like a lighthouse that guided me.
Well, I'm thrilled that you shared your story because you clearly are the doctor we all need.
Thank you. And so during that really difficult time, I focused on a couple of days a week of yoga, gentle stretching, nothing much, and a few walks. So I used to walk every single day, which is why in the 5 resets, when I talk about movement, walking, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, again, you might say, what's a walk going to do? It's going to do nothing. Because it's not about the promise of physical fitness. This is the promise of mental fitness. And so a little bit of a daily walk. And the reason I walked every single day when I was a stressed patient, and why I suggest when people are feeling that acute sense of stress to walk is every single day, is because it avoids decision fatigue. If you say to yourself when you're deeply stressed, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for an hour-long class, okay? Then Monday rolls around, a deadline comes up at work, you don't go. Tuesday, there's a family obligation or a conflict, you don't go. Wednesday, same thing. And by Friday, you might have gone 0 or 1 time. Your sense of self-efficacy goes down. You're like, oh, I can't get anything right. Why bother at all? And then your amygdala starts firing, right? Because the forward future planning prefrontal cortex isn't working as great. Instead, aim to do something a little bit every day. It avoids decision fatigue. Now, to answer your question, it's changed. So initially I was a sedentary person. I didn't really exercise much. I was into dancing as a child, but not sports. Now I understand the value of sports for so many reasons. Gentle yoga and walks every day. 10-minute walk, that was like, yes, I walked, check. This is not about like walking 5 miles a day.
I love that because the person listening is like, okay, how long? What do I do? And it's just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes.
5 minutes is fine too. If you can do 20 minutes of a walk every single day, great. It's the equivalent of a Facebook scroll. Seriously, we all scroll.
That's true.
Or Instagram, or choose your poison. It's the equivalent of a scroll. Opt out of a scroll and go for a walk instead. Do it in between your meetings if you can. 5-10 minutes every single day. It's that inertia that sometimes it feels like you're wading through molasses when you're feeling stressed of like lacing up your sneakers and going outside. And if you say, oh, I'm going to do this for 45 minutes, forget it. You're never doing it. But if you say, oh, 5 minutes, I can do that. It's about closing that gap between where you are and where you'd like to be. And so 5 minutes. So then now what I do, because I am of a certain age, I focus on resistance training. I aim to exercise 30 minutes every single day. Does that happen every single day? No, but I probably get in 4 to 5 days of exercise. And that includes walking, or if I do a 40-minute walk one day, I won't do resistance training, but I do some form of movement every day. It is about making things small and tangible and decreasing the barriers to taking that step. So fine, you don't want to put on your sneakers, take a walk up and down your hallway in your house. Walk up and down a set of stairs. Research has showed that in fact, to decrease, there was a study that was done that ultra short bursts of activity, 1 to 2 minutes. So walking up a set of stairs or going to, parking far away when you're going to the grocery store. We all look for parking really close to the entrance. Park far away. Take a walk up to the grocery store. Run for the bus or walk quickly to go get the bus or the subway. These they're called ultra short bursts of activity, can decrease your risk of dying from cancer by 40%.
Wow. You heard the doctor. Get your walk on every day. 10 minutes. That's all she's saying, and it's going to lower your stress. How does sitting all day impact your stress?
As you may have heard in pop culture, sitting is the new smoking.
I hadn't heard that.
The science shows that sitting, it's not just that exercise is good for you and moving is good for you, for your stress, anxiety, burnout. It's that sitting is actually bad for you. And it can increase your sense of anxiety, stress, and burnout.
Wow. Maybe we should have ordered standing desks around here.
And of course you want to sit. And, for me, when I can never use a standing desk, I can't think right. I need to sit down and do my work and have my deep thinking. I wanted to share a couple of pretty alarming statistics about sitting. There was a study of 800 people, and the ones who sat the most, this is like knock your socks off data. The people who sat the most had a 112% higher risk of diabetes, 147% higher risk of heart disease, a 90% higher risk of death from heart disease, and a 50% higher risk from death overall. All to say that sitting is actually bad for our health, our well-being, and, as it turns out, your stress and burnout.
How does sitting trigger stress?
The mechanisms of action aren't entirely clear, but the data suggests that when you are sitting for prolonged lengths of time, you're stewing in your own emotions, so to speak. And so it's that getting up and moving creates a whole cascade of positive biological changes to your brain and your body. And when you're sitting for long periods of time, that doesn't happen. It also has a cardiovascular benefit, or rather, it's detrimental to your cardiovascular health to just sit because a body is meant to move. Your body is the greatest machine. We say that this little guy, this smartphone, is like the greatest machine that man has invented. I would argue that your brain and your body is truly the greatest machine. And so use that machine to do what it's meant to do. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to become an Olympian, but certainly getting up and moving a little bit every day, even if it means 5 minutes between your Zoom meetings, get up, take a walk, stretch, sitting for prolonged periods of time. Because think about it. We sit all day at work, then you sit all day at work, and then you sit in a car going back home, and then you sit on your sofa all day. So the human body hasn't been designed to just sit all day. We are meant to move and move our bodies.
As a doctor, what do you recommend? My watch has that stand-up thing. I love it. I don't
too.
realize how much time will go by. And it's like, oh, I haven't stood in 2 hours? Holy cow.
I love that. I would say there isn't necessarily a prescription, like a dose relationship for sitting and when to stand up. And what's the dose of standing and sitting? Just do it when you can. You have a 2-hour meeting, can't stand up right after that 2-hour meeting. Instead of sitting on your Slack channel and responding to emails or doing all of those things, get up and walk around. There is something to be said, right? Like Plato, Aristotle, all of these greats talked about the benefit of a walk, that mental health benefit of taking a walk. And so it doesn't have to be this long, profound walk. Just get up and stretch your body. Do some gentle stretching, some exercising, connect your breath to your movement, to your posture. This is really important because that's like a way to tap into your mind-body connection as well.
So your next reset addresses one of the biggest lies around productivity. Let's talk about it.
So reset number 4 is come up for air. One of the biggest myths is that you are meant to be functioning at a high capacity without any need for rest or recovery. That productivity is linear. The more you do, the more you can accomplish. And then the more you do, the more you can accomplish. It's just supposed to be this this feedback loop that's supposed to continue on and on and on. That's a myth. A break is not just a nice to have luxury. Your brain and your body need a break. It is a biological necessity for your brain and body to rest and recover. Human productivity is not linear. It functions on a curve. Think of a bell-shaped curve. Mm-hmm. The left of the curve, when you don't have a lot of stress, you're not very motivated, you're not very productive. Think about the right side of the curve. So much stress. You are keyed up. Many of us are living on this right side of the curve, right? There is a sweet spot of human productivity right in the middle. It's just right stress. I call it the Goldilocks principle. And it's this idea of we all are to that right of that bell-shaped curve. We are anxious. We have so much stress. We're not productive. We can't focus. It's hard to get things done. So the science suggests that moving back, how do you get to that center spot, the sweet spot of human productivity, is to scale back. But you can't scale back. That's not realistic because we have real constraints. Mm-hmm. We have constraints on our time. We have obligations with work and parenting. Instead, you have to honor your breaks. How do you scale back? How do you apply this science to your everyday life? You honor your breaks.
How do you do that?
When you are taking a break during the day, what do most of us do? We mindlessly scroll. We've already talked about what happens with scrolling. This isn't a benign thing that you are doing. You are actively influencing your brain and your body for more stress, right? More stress, more burnout, all of the things that we talked about.
Let me just highlight that because you're right. When I step out of a meeting, the first thing I do is check my phone. And so I'm not actually taking a break. I'm re-engaging my mind and activating the amygdala and juicing up my stress. Never even thought about it. I always viewed like, oh, okay, I've got a couple minutes before my next thing. I'll just look at my phone. And instead, if I were to leave my phone where it is and walk into the kitchen here at work or at home, make myself a cup of coffee or step outside for a minute, I'd feel different.
Try some heart-centered breathing. Take a little walk outside, do some stretches, touch your toes, stand up, twist, do something where you're connecting your breath to your movement, tap into your mind-body connection. Practice stop, breathe, be. It's a 3-second exercise and it can help.
What is that?
The stop, breathe, be method. The instructions are in the name. It's a 3-second exercise. So you stop, you breathe, and you be. So you ground your feet on the floor. I learned the stop, breathe, be method. It was the first technique I learned to reset my mind-body connection when I was in the throes of stress as a stressed medical resident. I was working 80 hours a week. I was seeing 30 to 40 patients a day. And I brought the stop, breathe, be method into my life when I would knock on the door of the patient room before I would enter. It was my doorknob moment. So as I turned the doorknob, I would say to myself, often under my breath, in a crowded place, stop, breathe, be. And then I would enter. And I would do that incrementally over and over and over again, 30, 40 times a day. Over time, I could just do it anywhere. In fact, before we started speaking, I was so excited because I was having a total fangirl moment. Still am. It's been a long time of my amygdala going off. But no, just kidding. I was having a fangirl moment. I'm not kidding about that. And I did stop, breathe, be. In fact, the entire time that we've been speaking, I've been very aware of my feet on the floor, my posture in the chair, and how I am breathing, because that is important to manage and modulate your stress response. You can practice stop, breathe, be during mundane, everyday moments of your life. So I did it with the doorknob. You can do it, between Zoom meetings. Stop, breathe, be.
It's a little mini reset.
Small, micro reset, 3 seconds. You can practice it when you're brushing your teeth. I have practiced it in the morning when you're getting lunches ready for school, getting everything ready. I do it always at the doorknob before I'm about to go into the garage to do school bus stop drop off. Stop, breathe, be. And I think, oh my God, we forgot the project. Did you bring your hat? Oh, we need to get this. We need to get that. It's just the reset that you need. And the reason the stop, breathe, be method works so well is because anxiety and anxious thoughts are a future-focused emotion. It is about what if? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I fail? What if I can't do well? What if? And stop, breathe, be gets you out of what if thinking and gets you back into what is in the here and now.
Dr. Aditi, what is the fifth reset?
The fifth reset is to bring your best self forward. And this is all about the inner critic. We talked about it a little bit at the start of our conversation. That inner critic is that voice in your head that berates you. You may not even know that it is there. You might think, hey, that's my natural voice. That's who I am. In fact, I would argue that that is not who you are, capital Y-O-U. It is your amygdala speaking. The reason is when you are feeling a sense of stress, that inner critic, that voice gets a megaphone because your amygdala is doing the driving of your brain. And your amygdala wants to keep you safe and small. That is why getting out of your comfort zone when you're feeling a sense of stress doesn't feel good. You want, you have that what if thinking, all of these sorts of things. It's a self-sabotage sort of situation. And so you stay small, you stay in your comfort zone, you don't try new things, you don't try to get out of your stress because that inner voice. So how do you silence the inner voice? How do you take that megaphone out of your inner voice's hand and say, no, you're not going to be speaking. I'm the one who's going to be speaking. There's a couple of ways to do that. The first is gratitude. Now, you may hear the word gratitude and roll your eyes like, oh my God, gratitude. Like, I'm not going to do this like teenage journal bullshit, right? In fact, there is a lot of science for gratitude. A written gratitude practice is vital to help silence your inner critic and to reset your stress and burnout. Because, again, very simple practice. Keep a piece of paper and a pen next to your bedside. You know how you got rid of your phone on your nightstand? Keep a little gratitude journal there instead now. Every night or in the morning, whenever you want. Doesn't matter. 5 things you're grateful for and why. Put the date, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Write down 5 things you're grateful for and why. Some days you'll have like 15 things that you want to write down. You can only write down 5. Other days you'll say, I have nothing that I'm grateful for. You have 2 arms and 2 legs. You can breathe the air. You have a roof over your head. You have food in your pantry. These are all wins because many people, particularly now, cannot say that. So write those down. The reason gratitude is so important from a scientific perspective is because when you are doing a daily gratitude practice, it takes 60 seconds. You are rewiring your brain because what you are doing, it's a fancy scientific name called cognitive reframing. What you focus on grows. So Rick Hansen talks about this idea of when you're going through stress. He's a psychologist in California. And it's like gratitude helps you move away from Velcro to Teflon. Because your amygdala is driving that train, negative experiences become sticky in the brain, like Velcro. You hold on to them because it's a feeling of survival and self-preservation. And so when you start practicing gratitude on an everyday basis, it's cognitive reframing. What you focus on grows. So you shift your perspective. So even if negative and positive are happening at the same rate, good and bad things are happening in your life at the same rate, when you are feeling a sense of stress, you are focused primarily on the negative because you are thinking danger, 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 right? Red alert. And so how do you decrease that stickiness of negative experiences in your brain when you're feeling a sense of stress? By practicing gratitude. So it shifts away from Velcro, your brain circuitry shifts away from Velcro to Teflon. So the negative experiences may happen, but it slides off. How does it happen? Through gratitude. So you write down those things every single day. And studies have demonstrated that at 30, 60, and 90 days, there's improved mood, decreased stress and burnout, better sleep. There are so many benefits to an everyday gratitude practice. It also silences your inner critic because it dials down the volume of the amygdala in the background.
If you say, I'm a bad person, how many of you say that to yourself? I'm such a bad person. I always screw up. Nothing works out for me. If you say, I'm a bad person, isn't it true that you see things every single day that make you think it's true? And then our daughter said, yeah, actually, yesterday I missed my dentist appointment. I just completely forgot about it. And as soon as I realized I blew off the dentist appointment, totally forgot, the first thing I said to myself was, there I go again, screwing everything up. And I said, look, that's an excellent example. Imagine if instead of missing the dentist appointment, imagine if when you miss the dentist appointment, how many of you have missed a dentist appointment? I know I have. How amazing would it be if you missed the dentist appointment and you could just shrug your shoulders and go, oops, forgot the dentist appointment, without going, see, I screw everything up, and pounding yourself into the ground and beating yourself up. Imagine if you could teach your own mind, everybody, to not see all the stuff that's happening in life as evidence that you're a bad person. Because you can forget a dentist appointment and just let it pass through your mind without attaching, I'm a bad person, to what happened. You have to be deliberate. You have to tell your mind exactly what you want to think about yourself when things mess up. So my daughter looks at me, this is a true story, and is like, really? How the hell do I do that, Mom? I've been telling myself I'm a bad person and I screw everything up for as long as I can remember. How the hell am I going to get my mind to think something else? And this is when I hit her with the heart rock game that I'm telling you, you got to steal this hack from me. I said, well, let's train your mind by playing a simple game that's going to change the way that your mind works in real time. And I said, every single day, I want you to look for a naturally occurring heart shape in the world, whether it's a heart-shaped rock, a heart-shaped leaf, a heart-shaped oil stain on the floor of your garage, a heart-shaped swirl of milk on the top of your latte. Anything counts. And then my daughter said, you mean the way you're always looking for heart-shaped rocks when we walk on the beach, Mom? And I said, yep. And you know what she said to me? She said, Mom, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I said, my other daughter then said, I agree. How the hell does looking for hearts stop me from feeling like the ugliest one of all my friends? I want you to teach me how to be happy and how to be successful and how to make a lot of money in my new career, Mom. I mean, you're a self-help person. How the hell do rocks on the ground help me change my opinion of myself? Fair question, right? Don't worry, I had a great answer. I said, look, the point of the exercise of every day, I want you to look for a heart shape, like a heart-shaped rock in the world. The point of this, everybody, is to train your mind to spot the things that you're blocking out so you can prove to yourself that you can make your brain work for you by simply telling you what's important to you. And if you want to make a lot of money, you better train your brain to see opportunities and deals that other people walk right by, just like you walk by that stupid rock on the ground that's laying there right now. And you miss it because you're not looking for it. And if you want to stop thinking you're bad or hating the way you look, you better train your mind to stop attaching that thought to everything you see. Pretty smart, right? If you'd like to make more money, you got to spot opportunities to make more money. If you want to feel better about yourself, everybody, you got to stop pounding yourself into the ground with negative thoughts anytime life doesn't go 100% your way or you screw up, which is totally normal. I could tell they were considering my argument. So I went even further. Besides, oh, there goes the clock. Hold on a second. And feel free to ask questions in the comments. This is a short chapter, okay? Besides, if I told you, everybody, to just repeat a positive mantra, I'm beautiful, I'm a good person, you'd think this is stupid because you don't believe that. So first, I got to show you the power that you have to change what your mind sees. Then you're going to trust what I'm saying. You see, good people mess up all the time. It doesn't make you a bad person. And even if you are a bad person at times, why does that make you unlovable? See, it's all about the way you flip the things you look at so that you can see a world that makes you feel empowered and supported. Imagine how much easier and fulfilling it would be if you could stop the beatdown and just love yourself while you work on your health goals. Now, let me tell you how to do the heart-shaped exercise. You guys ready? Okay, good. Starting tomorrow, super easy, or today, starting today, I want you to find one naturally occurring heart shape in the world around you. Then stop and take a look at it. Here's mine. Every day when I go for a walk, if you follow me on my stories, you will see that I take photos all day long of heart shapes. This is the kind of thing that trains your mind. I'm getting asked for a meditation on manifesting. Yeah. Looking for a heart shape every single day in the world around you is a way to manifest because you are practicing a skill. You're practicing a skill of waking up and intentionally saying, I am going to find a heart shape today. You are putting that intention into your mind. And by putting it into your mind, you're training your mind to work for you. Now we're going to take it a level up. You ready? When you find something, I want you to stop. I want you to take a moment. I want you to take a photo of it. Oops, my phone, my computer just died, so we're going to stay on Instagram. I want you to take a photo of it. And I want you to really feel that that was placed there for you. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to have an experience whereby you feel that literally the universe had put something there for you and your mind helped you find it. And if you take that moment and you feel a moment of gratitude, what's going to happen is that energetic, positive experience of acknowledging that you told yourself you were going to find a heart shape. And then your mind scanned and you found it. And now you're taking a moment to feel grateful that this happened, to be present to the larger forces that are out there. And then take a photo, put it on your story, tag me, Mel Robbins, tag High Five Habit. And you will be shocked. Because what will happen is because you took a moment to positively encode it in your brain will start showing you hearts all over the place. You're not going to believe the amount of hearts that you walk past. I'm dead serious about this. These are just a few examples on page 91. I repost these all day long from you guys. There's a heart in a coffee cup. There's a heart right here that's a leaf. We've got a heart. One of my favorite ones was inside of an onion. We see rocks all the time. I'm looking for this stuff. That's on page 91. I just realized that we lost our friends on Facebook because your imperfect friend, Mel Robbins, forgot to plug her computer in. So we lost power. Oh, well. Done is better than perfect. And simply showing up here today and making a little bit of progress instead of waiting for it to get perfect is better than not doing it at all.
I asked our online audience and our listeners of this podcast, what are you struggling with? 95% of people said distraction, memory loss, information overload, the anxiety about all the things I need to do, my inability to remember things. And so what do we need to do? Can you walk us through simple things that we need to do that you teach people in your institute to tap into the capacity of our brains?
Yeah. So for me, it's three things.
Okay.
Framework. And then we could go into the tactics and tools.
Let's do it.
It's 3 M's.
Okay.
It's your mindset. I define mindset as a set of assumptions or attitudes you have about something.
Okay.
Your attitudes, assumptions about money. Your attitudes, assumptions about relationships, maybe about yourself even, right?
Okay.
So the mindset for me at events where I do these demonstrations, people are like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I have a horrible memory. I'm not smart enough. And I always say stop because all behavior is belief driven.
You say stop
when somebody says I have a horrible memory, because when somebody says I have a horrible memory, that is a mindset. And that
Correct.
mindset, I have a horrible memory, or I'm not smart, or I've never been able to learn a language, or I'm a slow reader. All of those statements is the mindset that is limiting the capacity of your brain. So step one is to identify what your mindset is when it comes to your brain.
So the first one is your mindset. If people say they feel like they're not smart enough or they're too old, I say stop, because if you fight for those limitations, you get to keep them. Meaning
Okay.
your brain is like this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to.
That makes sense.
Your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. Audit yourself. I don't have a great memory yet. It just opens up the possibility, and it just feels different.
I like to just stop and put a highlighter on what Jim is telling you. And I have a story that I'm dyslexic, and I took 6 years of French in high school, and I went to college and took an exam to place into, the French requirement. Dude, I placed into French 101 for people who have never taken it. So, and yet, I have this calling and this desire to be able to speak conversational Spanish. Jim's point here is that if I'm not willing to stop telling myself that foreign languages are hard for me, I will never, ever, ever utilize the methods effectively, because I will always be arguing against them. And so that's step one. And then let's move on to the second one.
Motivation. When we talk about motivation, I ask myself this question like 10 times a day, verbatim. What is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal where I can't fail?
That's a big question. Now, see, here's part of my problem, Jim. I can't remember the question.
Okay, here we go. We can write this down. What is the tiniest action I could take right now? Operative word now.
Okay.
Little things add up to big things.
Yeah.
Because consistency compounds. Little by little, a little becomes a lot.
Yeah. So talk to us about the methods.
I'm going to teach everyone a memory technique that I train Hollywood actors and TED speakers to be able to memorize a speech.
Okay.
If you have to give a toast at a wedding,
Okay.
right? And so what we're going to memorize are 10 keys for a limitless brain.
Okay.
There are 10 levers for a better brain
Okay.
that will make a marked difference in your focus, your memory, your overall brain energy and health.
Okay.
So I'm going to share them, and then I'll teach you how to memorize these 10 things forwards and
Oh my
backwards.
God, I love this. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one is a good brain diet. What you eat matters, especially for your gray matter. A whole area of science we research and talk about in the book called neuronutrition, that your brain is part of your body, but it requires different nutrients, some different nutrients than the rest of your body.
Okay.
Well, actually, let's go with some of my favorite foods. Avocados, the monounsaturated fat, it's good. Blueberries, I like to call them brain berries. Broccoli is good for the brain. Vitamin E, olive oil. The Mediterranean diet is good for your brain. If your diet allows eggs, the choline in eggs is a precursor to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter. It's really important for cognitive health. Green leafy vegetables, if you could stomach that, is a kale, spinach. Fatty fishes, because your brain is mostly fat, it's the omega-3s, specifically the DHA. So salmon, sardines is good for your brain. Turmeric. It helps. It has the curcumin, which helps to lower inflammation systemically. Walnuts and almonds, even walnuts look like a brain. High in vitamin E, which is neuroprotective. Probably my favorite is dark chocolate. So everyone can remember that very well. So these are some of my favorite brain foods. Number 2, the second key for a limitless brain, killing ants. ANT stands for automatic negative thoughts. Let's talk about number 3 is exercise. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. As your body moves, your brain grooves.
Okay.
Number 4, brain nutrients. If you're not getting the fish, then omega fatty acids, supplementing with DHAs. But then there's all kinds of nootropics like L-theanine, bacopa, rhodiola, creatine, which is often associated with exercise. Huge benefit for mitochondria energy for your brain. Number 5, positive peer group. Who you spend time with is who you become. If you spend time with 9 broke people, you're going to be number 10. We have these mirror neurons, and mirror neurons help to drive our empathy and imitate people around us. So we imitate their words. Whether somebody smokes has less to do with their biological networks or their neurological networks, has more to do with their social networks. Because if your friends smoke, you're more likely to take that action. We start modeling the integrity, the moral fabric of the people we spend time with, of what's acceptable, right? Imitating the habits of the people around us. So you spend time with people who are working out all the time, you're probably more likely to work out. And if you haven't found that person yet, be that person. We could love our family and friends, but they don't have to be our peer group.
Right.
That's 5. 6, clean environment. Cleaning your desk or making your bed, but then you feel just kind of a clarity of thought. You know why? Because you're not using mental energy to keep track of everything. Your external world is often a reflection of your internal world. And then number 7, big one, sleep. Hello. Number 8, protect your brain. Brain protection. Wear a helmet, protect your brain. It's very resilient, but it's very fragile.
Okay.
Number 9, new learnings. New learnings, meaning there's a study done with nuns on longevity. They lived 80, 90 above. And because it's a set community, similar diet and day play, they found that half of it was because of their faith and their emotional gratitude. The other half, key factor for longevity, they were lifelong learners. They're reading every day. They're having spirited debates, conversations. And because of it, it added years to their life and life to their years. My favorite learning, reading. Reading is to your mind what exercise your body. And then finally, number 10, stress management. Chronic stress has been shown to shrink the human brain. It also puts you in fight or flight. You're held hostage in your survival brain. And I'm going to walk you through a 2,500-year-old memory technique that will blow your mind. And I want everyone to do this, and you're able to remember all 10. All right. I want you to imagine you're coming to my office. It's in the suburbs. And you can actually just breathe. And if you can, close your eyes just to help you to focus, if it's safe to do so as you're listening. And there are trees everywhere around it's a glass building. Let's say you're coming to take a speed reading class with us. I'm going to name 10 places along this journey to get to that classroom. And what we're going to do is take the 10 keys for a limitless brain, and we're going to imagine each of those keys in each of those places in order. So I'm going to ask everyone to say out loud as you're listening this. The first place that you get out of is the parking lot. So what's the first place? Say it out loud.
Parking lot.
Parking lot, and that's their verbal memory. I want you to see it, and then we're gonna feel it and get it in our body. So the parking lot, when you get out of the parking lot, you're gonna be reminded you need a good brain diet. And how you do that, pretend you're 8 years old and use your imagination. If you can't imagine it, imagine you can imagine it. And imagine there's a big buffet of your favorite brain foods. And so you see the blueberries, the avocados, the dark chocolate.
Okay.
And even if you can't imagine, again, imagine you can imagine it, see it, feel it, taste it. All right, so from there's a waterfall. It creates like a moat around the building, and so you have to cross a bridge. So the second place is the bridge. So what's the second place?
Bridge.
Bridge. That's your verbal memory. You go across the bridge, and you're killing ants. It's to remind you the second tip, quick tip, for a limitless brain, you need to kill automatic negative thoughts. So you're stepping on those ants. It takes more time to say it than actually to see it. And as you're stepping on it, you would never do that, but it's just, you can't forget it. You go into the building. The third place, you get into the elevator. What's the third place?
Elevator.
Elevator, great. And then, third brain tip, exercise. So your personal trainer is there, and whatever your personal exercise is, Pilates, CrossFit, whatever, yoga, you're doing it in the elevator. So see and feel yourself doing that. You get out of the elevator, and the fourth place is the hallway. Okay. So what's the fourth place?
Hallway.
Hallway. And these are brain nutrients, all the nootropics, right? So I want you to imagine you're tripping and falling on bottles of ginkgo, of creatine, of curcumin, of lion's mane mushroom.
Okay.
Right? And you're just tripping on it. You're like Donkey Kong or Lara Croft. You're jumping over these, maybe make the bottles really big.
Okay.
Right? And there are vitamins everywhere. You open the door to my office. Immediately to the left is the fifth place, which is the closet.
The closet.
So what's the fifth place?
Closet.
Closet. And inside, you want to remember your positive peer group. So all of your happy friends are in the closet. They're celebrating, they're cheering, big surprise party, happy friends, positive peer group. Maybe we're doing a mastermind.
Okay.
Right? You get out, and it's the sixth place is the receptionist. Receptionist. What's the sixth place?
Receptionist.
And so what the receptionist is doing is the sixth brain tip, which is clean environment. The receptionist is cleaning the environment.
Okay.
Waxing, vacuuming, dusting, everything is clean. Behind the receptionist is the seventh place, which is the fish tank. What's the seventh place?
Fish tank.
Fish tank. Everyone say fish tank. And then the seventh tip, sleep. So imagine Nemo, Dory in their pajamas, and they're in their bunk beds. One of them is snoring, right? And you're sleeping with the fishes. So that's what's going on in the fish. And you just see it, you won't ever forget it. You don't have to repeat it 100 times like old school. You see it once, you can't forget it. All right, we're almost there. You go to the classroom, but the door is locked for the speed reading class. And the classroom door is the eighth place. What's the eighth place?
Classroom door.
Perfect. And there's a helmet on a hook there. So you put the helmet on and you headbutt the door open, it splinters everywhere, right?
Okay.
But the helmet reminds you of the brain tip, brain protection. Protect your brain. Great. And we're almost done. In the front of the room is the ninth place, and it's a whiteboard with markers, right? A whiteboard. So what's the ninth place?
Whiteboard.
Great. And I'm there as your instructor, and I'm writing 2 words on the whiteboard in your favorite color. Mel, what's your favorite color?
Red.
Red. In red, I'm writing new learnings. New learnings. So see those 2 words, new learnings, to remind you about, always be learning. And then finally, on the side of this particular classroom are these Japanese plants, these bonsai trees. What's the 10th place?
Bonsai trees.
And you want to remember stress management. So whatever relaxes you, do it on the bonsai trees. Take a moment. You're doing meditation there. You're getting a massage there. You're having your relaxing drink, but you're doing it on the bonsai trees.
Got it.
Perfect. Now you are on stage.
Okay.
And you need to be able to share these 10 things.
Okay.
And you go to the first place is the parking lot, and that reminds you of what, everybody?
Blueberries and brain food.
Yes, your brain foods. Perfect. And then you cross the bridge, and what are you stepping on?
Ants.
Yes, kill those automatic negative thoughts. You get into the building, you get into the elevator.
Exercise.
Exercise. And then once you get out of the elevator, you see the hallway, and it's covered in
bottles, like
all those
ginkgo
bottles.
and stuff that lion's mane and
yes, the lion's mane, all the brain nutrients. You open up the door to the classroom, and immediately to the left is a closet.
Our friends are in there.
Yeah, all the happy friends, your positive peer group. Then you go to the receptionist, and what's the activity they're doing?
The receptionist is cleaning.
Clean your environment. And behind the receptionist is a fish tank.
And they're sleeping.
What are the fish doing?
They're sleeping, Jim.
They are sleeping.
Oh my God, I could tell you what they are. We're going to put on a helmet and bust through the door, and on the whiteboard is going to be the words new learning, and then there's a bonsai tree where I'm relaxing.
Perfect. And you got it, 10 out of 10. And so, and you can even probably do it backwards, Mel. Like if you could probably go from
the bonsai tree relaxing to the new learning, to the helmet, to the cleaning, to the closet where my friends are, to the bottles that I tripped over, to the elevator where there was some exercise to do, to the ants that we stepped on, to the blue. That is amazing.
Yeah. And so my message to everybody is, when you understand how your brain works, you could work your brain. When you understand how your memory works, you could work your memory. It starts to change your mindset about what's possible. Because when you do something you never thought you could do, then you say like, what? You get curious, right? What else? Maybe I could read. I really can read 2 or 3 times faster and enjoy it, and get more out of it. Or I could learn Spanish.
Well, I absolutely love everything that you just taught us. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.